So, if you've been around web development for a while, you definitely know about the traditional deployment headaches, right? Configuring web servers, tweaking Nginx files, wrestling with database connections, and trying to manage those incredibly fragile deployment pipelines. Honestly, it can turn a super exciting project into an absolute chore. But what if you could just bypass all of that? Well, in this explainer, we're going to completely unlock the process of building and deploying static sites using Gatsby and Netlify. By the time we wrap up, you are going to know exactly how to take a project from a completely empty folder on your computer to a lightning-fast, live URL that anyone in the world can visit. And the best part, we're doing it in a matter of minutes. No servers to maintain, no database configuration, just pure, streamlined development.
All right, let's map out our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the magic of Gatsby, then setting up your environment, followed by creating your static pages, and finally, deploying to the world.
Part 1. The magic of Gatsby. Let's unpack what makes this framework such a powerhouse.
So what is Gatsby really? It's an open-source framework that combines React, GraphQL, and Webpack to create lightning-fast static websites with an absolutely incredible developer experience. By uniting these three major technologies, it just gives you this unparalleled building experience. You get the component-based UI power of React, so you can build modular, reusable interfaces. Then it folds in the flexible data querying of GraphQL, meaning you can easily pull in data from Markdown files, headless CMSs, or external APIs right into your components. And to top it all off, it uses the robust bundling capabilities of Webpack. The result? When you actually build your site, Gatsby pre-renders all of your pages into static HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And because of this, they aren't just fast, they are lightning fast. The browser doesn't have to wait around for server-side processing or database queries. The page is already built and ready to go the exact millisecond a user requests it.
Now, before we start writing any code, let's make sure we've got our bases covered. You'll need a grasp on standard web basics: HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React. But technically speaking, the most absolutely vital piece of the puzzle here is ensuring your machine is running Node.js, specifically version 18 or newer. See, because Gatsby is a Node-based toolchain that compiles everything before it ever hits the browser, it relies really heavily on the Node runtime for its back-end build processes. So double-check that you're running Node 18 or newer just to make sure all of Gatsby's processes execute without a hitch.
Moving right along to Part 2, setting up your environment. Let's get that local workspace built out.
All right, time to get our hands a bit dirty in the command line. Step 1 is installing the Gatsby command line interface, the CLI, on your local machine. You're just going to run npm install -g Gatsby CLI. Now that -g flag is super important because it installs the package globally, meaning your terminal will recognize Gatsby commands no matter what folder you're in. Once that finishes downloading, step 2 is a quick verification check. Just type Gatsby-version. Look, we all know the absolute pain of spending an hour troubleshooting some bizarre error only to realize you were using a deprecated version of a tool, right? So run that check and make sure you hit that crucial version 3 requirement, or newer, so you can actually use all the modern Gatsby features.
Okay, let's actually create the project. These 3 little commands are your launch sequence. First, type Gatsby new, my first Gatsby site. When you hit enter, Gatsby is going to prompt you for a few project details, and then it intelligently scaffolds out all the boilerplate files, folders, and dependencies you need. It does the heavy lifting for you. Second, jump into that brand new directory by typing cd my first Gatsby site. And finally, execute npm run develop. Boom! This fires up your local development server and officially brings your code to life with hot reloading fully enabled.
So you ran that develop command, and your Gatsby site is now officially live in your local environment at http://localhost 8000/. It's right there, it's immediate, and that hot reloading means every single time you hit save on a file, the browser instantly updates. You don't even have to manually refresh. It's a truly fantastic environment for building and testing. But at the end of the day, local is just local. It only exists on your hard drive. Our real goal here is moving from this local port to a global environment, a live worldwide URL. We aren't quite there yet, but the foundation is officially locked in.
Which brings us to Part 3, creating your static pages. Let's look at how you actually construct the content your visitors will see.
Creating pages in Gatsby, it's an absolute breeze. If you peek inside your new project folder, you're going to see a directory called src/pages. To make a brand new web page, you simply drop a new JavaScript file straight into this folder. So for example, if you want an About page, you literally just create a file named about.js.
Inside that file, you use React components to structure your HTML and CSS, and Gatsby just automatically recognizes it as a distinct routable page on your site. If you compare this file-based routing to the older, tedious ways of setting up routes manually, where you had to map out every single path in a massive centralized router file, the amount of time and cognitive load you save here is just staggering.
The official documentation actually hits the nail on the head here, stating, Gatsby will handle routing and page generation for you. If you have ever tried to wire up dynamic routes in a traditional React application, you know exactly how much friction this removes. There is no complicated routing table to maintain. You aren't mapping state to URL parameters manually. The framework is just doing all of that heavy lifting for you behind the scenes. This architectural choice completely streamlines adding new pages, meaning you can focus 100% on your content and your design.
Okay, so you've created your pages, added your content, and your site is running beautifully on your local machine at port 8000. It looks completely pristine. But how do you seamlessly share it with the rest of the world? How do we actually cross that bridge from local development to a global distribution?
That takes us to part 4, deploying to the world. We're going to take that local code and host it using Netlify. Before we can just drop our site onto the web, we've got to prep our files for production. First things first, if you don't have one already, sign up for a free Netlify account. Next, head back to your terminal. Make sure you're still in your Gatsby project directory and run the command npm run build. This right here is the vital bridge between development and production. That build command takes all your developer code, executes the Webpack bundling, runs your GraphQL queries, and essentially compiles everything down into heavily optimized static files. Stripping away that heavy server-side processing is really the core secret to Gatsby's incredible speed. Once that command finishes, it generates a brand new folder called public. This folder contains the exact, highly optimized HTML, CSS, and JavaScript output we need for launch.
Now, for the incredibly satisfying part. Step 1. Open up the Netlify website and head over to the Sites menu. Step 2. Locate that newly generated public folder on your computer, and I kid you not, literally drag and drop it right into the designated deployment area in your browser. Just think about how novel this is compared to the traditional hurdles of web hosting. You aren't configuring an FTP client, you aren't provisioning some AWS bucket, and you definitely aren't fighting with a complex YAML file for continuous integration. It is just a drag and drop. Step 3, sit back and wait a few seconds. Netlify immediately takes those static files, spins them up on their global content delivery network, and hosts your site.
And the payoff? After a successful deployment, Netlify rewards you with a unique live URL. Your Gatsby static site has officially left your local machine. It is now live, globally distributed on edge servers, and completely accessible to anyone, anywhere in the world, with just a simple click. So, you've just walked through the entire life cycle, from installing the CLI and generating a project, to crafting pages with React, and seamlessly dragging that optimized build onto a global server. The barrier to entry for sharing your ideas on the web has literally never been lower. You now have the power to take an idea from an empty folder to a globally deployed lightning-fast application in minutes. The only question left is, with all this power, what are you